Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So as promised, I am going to give you my update on my thoughts on the new Lightning Lane multi-pass. I'm not going to really talk too much about the single pass. I am going to mention a few things, but the single pass really hasn't changed too much, with the exception that you can now do an advanced purchase. That's really the only difference between the single pass. But the advanced pass, or I'm sorry, the multi-pass, the advanced purchase and all of that, yeah, I have some thoughts. I did use it for 3 days. Now I will say we were staying on property and we didn't get to use it as kind of designed for those staying on property and booking in advance. But I did get to use that, and that is one of the pros. I have a couple pros, I have some cons, and then I have some tips on how to use it. I'm going to try and go through this really fast and try not to ramble. If you are new to my videos, I can ramble, I can talk too much. There are timestamps below. So if you want to know just the pros or you want to know the cons, there will be timestamps below. And if you want to just skip to the tips, go down below. I'm going to be very honest. I do not like the system. I do not like it. There's definitely some pros to it, but I'm not a fan as it exists today. Did not have a good experience with it. Definitely not on Thursday, and even on Friday wasn't great, but it's not designed for how we were using the parks. We had 2 great days. Our trip was from, we were in the park from July 22nd to July 26th that week. First 2 days of Genie Plus, fantastic. Those vlogs will be coming. However, I have 2 vlogs from June that I have yet to edit. And then I've got some other videos that I still need to edit, and I will be kind of covering those, but you will see eventually when I do that. But I really wanted to get my thoughts out in a single video. So I will say, not a fan. I try to be very positive in my videos. If you watched me at any time, I do try and see the positive in things. I try and be positive, but I call things out when I see them. And when I see things that I don't like, I call it out. I'm not a pixie duster. I am just a mom that vlogs. That's kind of it. I love Disney. We own Disney Vacation Club. We're annual pass holders, at least for now. Yeah, I have some thoughts, and most of them aren't good. Okay, so first of all, if you hear screaming, my son is 8.5 and he's, doing stuff. It's the summer, so if I wait till he goes to sleep, then I'm only going to be filming like at midnight. So that's just to kind of preface that. Pros. So let's start with the pros. And again, I try to see positive. So there are some pros to the new system, and then we'll go to the cons. So the first pro is the advanced booking. I do think the advanced booking is definitely very helpful. It just helps you, especially a plan. I do like that it's 7 days and not 60 days for on-site guests. That was always very inconvenient, trying to figure out what park you're gonna go 60 days out with the old system. And then 7 days, they're changing the cancellation period for cash resorts. That was always a loophole with the old fast pass system. People would make reservations and then they would just cancel them. They make their fast passes, they would cancel them, but they still had their fast passes. That was a loophole, known loophole. A lot of people did it, and so that is gone. I think that changes January 1st, but that is coming. So the advanced purchase for 7 days for on-site guests and then 3 days for everybody else. That's a good thing. I do think that's a good thing. And I do think, again, we always stay on site. So it's obviously going to benefit those staying on site. I will say, I looked this morning for 3 days out to kind of see what the availability was. There was availability for many things, but some things were sold out. Like Tiana's was sold out. So I just checked, and it was only Tiana's that was sold out. The other ones are good, but they were in the evening. So you had to get it for later in the evening. However, the single passes were gone. So Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was gone. Tron was gone, Cosmic Rewind gone. So those are things to kind of consider. I think Rise in the Resistance and Avatar, those were still available. But those were still available like the day of the park too. So I wouldn't be too worried about those as well, unless you're like looking for a specific time. One of the things, I listened to the Disney Dish with Len Testa, and he mentioned that last Thursday, he said that some multi-pass selections were sold out of day one for the following week. So they were sold out, for the following week. And that would be, for like Tiana's and stuff like that. And then some single pass selections were immediately sold out 6 days in advance. So I'm only looking 3 days because I don't have a hotel reservation. They're saying that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was sold out for the next 6 days. So that means if you are not staying on site, you ain't getting it. So the advance purchase is great, but it's really going to benefit the on-site guests. So if you're staying off site, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Another positive I will say is that once you get your time and you secure it, it will hold that time for 5 minutes. So like while you're kind of still looking and maybe purchasing other things like single pass, etc., it will hold your time for 5 minutes and it will like have a little countdown. So I did like that. When I booked mine, I booked them, separate. I just paid for each day because we were trying to do it so fast. It was the same day. What they did to on-site guests to change it midweek, honestly, was really crappy. To change it, throw this new system while people are on their vacations, giving no advantage to on-site guests, which is that part doesn't really bother me. But like, if you're going to have this like new system, there was no information. So a lot of people didn't know how it worked. Like they should have had some more information, but okay, I digress. But it will hold your thing for 5 minutes. So I personally liked paying individually, separately. It was just easier for me that way, but you can book it and you can like do your whole week or however long and do it all at once. But just know you got to do it within 5 minutes. So I would say kind of do it a day at a time because I think that's easier. And that way you don't run out of that clock for those secure times. So just make sure you have that. I will also say, kind of as an add-on, make sure your credit card information is accurate and updated in the system before you make your purchase. Mine's attached to Apple Pay, so I used Apple Pay and that was fine, but my credit card was accurate because it's what we used for check-in and for the hotel. So I knew it would have worked no problem and I had used it during the week, but I did hear people that their credit card wasn't accurate or it had expired or whatever, and they had to back out and they lost all their time. So just that's a little caveat. Make sure that your payment information is accurate because it won't hold your time if you have to back out. The third pro that I wanted to say is that you get to know what's available and what your terms are before you buy. So you can go through, and I went ahead to this today and kind of did some samples and kind of what could I get 3 days out, and you will know what's available, what you're going to get before you purchase. That I think is really good because when you're spending, like Magic Kingdom the day we went, it was almost $100 for just the multi-pass was almost $100. So I knew what we were getting and okay, I'm willing to pay that. I'm at least getting those 3 passes or lightning lanes. So you know what you're going to get. So if you really want, Tiana's and it's not available and you don't want to take the risk, then you don't have to buy it. So that I think is a positive because before with Genie Plus, you bought it and then you could go in and there wasn't anything available. Okay, the fourth pro that I do like is that their overlapping is allowed. You actually can now when you're doing your first initial selections, that's actually kind of the con. When you're doing the it will overlap, but not too much. But when you're actually getting the times and you're trying to modify in the park, you could actually have 3 lightning lanes with the exact same time. There was twice that I had I think it was 7:30 to 8:30 where I had the same exact, at least 2 at this exact same window. So you could actually have 3 with the exact same window. Now, is it physically possible? Probably not, depending on the park. Like if you are doing, Under the Sea, Mad Tea Party, and Winnie the Pooh, could you do those 3 in an hour with a lightning lane? Probably, especially with the window, with the grace period. But you know, a lot of times you can't. So I know I did hear in the Disney Dish, they were saying that they thought this kind of was not necessarily a con, but a concern, because if someone, let's say, was doing Epcot and they didn't realize that Remy and, you know, Mission Space were on other opposite sides of the park, and you couldn't do like Remy's, Soarin', and Mission Space all in the period of an hour, that, you know, they might lose the time. And I kind of agree with that. But the problem I have with the reason why I like the way with overlapping is because sometimes when you're trying to modify, that might be the only time. And if it prevents you from getting that time, from getting that lightning lane because you have that exact same time period, then you don't get it, right? And then it's much easier to modify an attraction if you have that attraction. So it's much easier to modify the time of that attraction than to modify and get a different attraction, if that makes sense. So like if you have Remy's and you're just trying to get a different time, it's much easier to modify and just get a different time for Remy's than if you have Mission Space and you're trying to modify to get Remy's, if that makes sense. So I like the overlapping. I hope it stays the same. Yes, I'm sure there are people that will book 3 times thinking that they can do it and they may lose the attraction, but I think that comes into maybe common sense, but then also they can also modify it if they wanted to. So I like the overlapping and I hope it stays this way. Okay, so Pro 5 was the one I think is probably the most useful, and I'll talk in the tips and tricks later, and that is that there's no tiers after the first use. So every park except Animal Kingdom have tiers. So there's tier 1 and tier 2. You pick 1 from tier 1 and 2 from tier 2. But once you use your first attraction, then you can modify your other 2 attractions, and you don't have to, and they can be any tier. So when we went to Magic Kingdom on the first day, July 24th, our first attraction was Tiana's. We used Tiana's, and then I had like Haunted Mansion and Pirates. I was able to modify those and get Big Thunder and Space Mountain. So I was able to modify and get those attractions so that we could do them that same day, like in the morning. So I was able to get those attractions like right in the beginning. So we actually had I think a pretty successful morning, but I'll talk about like some of the cons. But you know, you are able. So that is a pro, is that there are no tiers after the first one. So I would say, you know, definitely, and we'll talk about the tips and the tricks in a second, but you know, if you're going in, do your first attraction first, and then that way you can modify your other selections, because that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. Okay, so number 6 is that you can hold 3 lightning lanes at a time. So that's something new. Obviously with the Genie Plus, you could hold and you could stack. That's what we did. But with the old Fast Pass system, you could only hold 1 at a time after you used your first 3. So I do think being able to book, even if you have 2 others, because, you know, we were able to do, I had 2 in the evening later on. So that was very helpful. So I do like the fact that you could have 3 at a time, which is different from the old Fast Pass system. And then finally, number 7 is, I think, a pro, but I expect this is going to change. And I'm surprised it was like this, but I expect this to change. And that is that park hopping is not extra. So if you purchase the cheapest park, which is going to be Animal Kingdom, we paid $18, but like when I was looking for 3 days out, it's actually $17, so it's actually cheaper. And Magic Kingdom, we paid $29. So if you purchase for Animal Kingdom, but you have to go into Animal Kingdom and use your first attraction. And once you use your first attraction, then you can go and book anywhere in any of the 4 parks, and it's not going to make you pay extra. Now, if you book Animal Kingdom and you decide, I'm not going to Animal Kingdom, I want to upgrade to Magic Kingdom and switch all my selections, then you have to pay the difference. So you actually physically have to park hop, and you have to use the first attraction at the park. So that is a way, like if you have a big family, that's a way to save money. Personally, to me, it wouldn't be worth it because you're going to lose a lot of time that way. But, you know, it's one way to save money. But I do like, for those people that do like to park hop and try to maximize their time, I do like that park hopping is not extra, though I expect that's going to change. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the cons, and I had 7 pros and I have 9 cons. So there you go. So it's about 60-40, but the cons kind of outweigh the pros. But let's see. Okay, so the first one is, I think, to me, it's not horrible, and it was definitely really annoying the day of because I was trying to book so fast and it was so crazy, and because we didn't get that advanced window for on-site guests. If you're an on-site guest going forward, it probably won't be as annoying, but it's still a little annoying. And that is that the times are automatically assigned. So what you do is you go into the system and it will say tier 1, tier 2, and you pick 1 for tier 1 and you pick 2 for tier 2. And then you hit like continue, and then it automatically assigns time for you. You know, that was annoying. We really wanted to do Tiana's first because we wanted to get it out of the way. It's been going down, and my husband got the Tron boarding group. So he did the boarding group. I was doing this, and it assigned like 11:30 for Tiana's, and then Pirates and Haunted Mansion were like 8:05 and 9:05, like super early. So I had to go back and modify, but then it wouldn't give me an earlier time for Tiana's because I had those 2 times. So it would overlap, but really not that much at that point in the day. Like when you're first selecting, it doesn't like to overlap too much. So I had to like modify those till later in the afternoon and then go back and modify Tiana's. But when I went back and modified Tiana's, there was no other time. So I got like 11:20, I think was the time that I originally got, which was the earliest I could get. Now I did go back and modify more, and I was able to get like refreshing for like the next half an hour. I was able to get like 10:40, which I ended up having to push back and having to refresh and get another time because we ended up getting boarding group 6 for Tron. And then when we were in line for, I was able to get another time. I was like, well, if worst case scenario, there's a grace period. But then I was just kind of refreshing, and I was able to get like our original time or a little bit later, which was good because when we got to the train station to take the train around, the train was down. So the trains usually come like every 7 minutes. That train went away, and they said the next train wasn't coming for another 15. So, we had to wait a little bit longer. So I was glad that I was able to refresh, but that was just really annoying because, you're trying to plan your day, and it just, I wish it would like, which is the first preference, like which one do you want? Like, what time are you planning to arrive? Like what time are you planning to arrive? So it gives you the times, like even when so when I went and did like Animal Kingdom, I knew we were doing the Wild Africa trek. So I knew we weren't going to be booking anything before 1:15. Well, again, it signed everything in the morning. I did play around with it, and I did learn some things as far as refreshing and modifying and trying to prioritize certain attractions. So I went in the system and I used the Genie and tried to do that to see if it helped with the times. That doesn't. So I don't like that it automatically selects the times, and it doesn't really give you like a choice, like what time are you going to arrive or which is your first preference? There's just nothing. So I thought that was a big blah, because, and then also when you go to modify, if you want to start your day with a certain attraction, then you have to, and then, you have to maybe modify the other 2 attractions before you can modify that main attraction. And if it's like Tiana's, they're going to go quickly. So I just don't like that. Okay, so number 2, the biggest con, and this is something that's specific to our family and how we use Genie Plus. So Genie Plus, we learned to like. Now, I did not like having to wake up at 7. I do like that there's the advanced booking. However, 2 of the parks still have virtual queues. So even that you get to do that advanced booking, guess who's still waking up at 7 a.m. to do the virtual queue? So at least for 2 of the parks. So, I mean, let's be honest. Let's get rid of the virtual queue. There's no need for it to be going for Tron, and there's no need for Cosmic Rewind. They've been around for a year at this point. Tiana's, I kind of understand, but the virtual queues need to go. Like, if you're going to do this advanced booking and you don't want to have people having to wake up at 7 a.m. on vacation, get rid of the virtual queues at this point. Okay, I digress. So, but with Genie Plus, what we learned with you, the first time we used Genie Plus, we went early in the day, and it didn't work that way. But what we did is we realized, okay, I'll start stacking, and then we stacked all the attractions for end of the day or in the afternoon, and we went at 3 or 4 o'clock, depending on when the park closed, and we closed the park down. When we went to Epcot that first Monday, we didn't get to Epcot till like 4 o'clock. We closed the park because it was closing at 9, and then they had extra magic hours or extended evening hours. So we left like just before 11. So we knew we were going to be staying late and using those extra hours. So we stacked, and I was still able to get other attractions. I was still able to, refresh after we used the other ones, but I knew we had Remy's. I knew we had Frozen Ever After. I was able to get, and I knew it. We had them. We stacked them. It was great. I loved that. This doesn't work that way. We did go to Magic Kingdom mainly because there's 2 virtual queues, and you can't get the 1 o'clock drop with 1 not having checked into the park, and then 2, you can't get another second virtual queue if you haven't used your first one. So originally we were going to get Tiana's, but I thought, well, if I get Tiana's and then it goes down and we don't use it, then we can't get Tron. So we decided to get Tron, use Tiana's in the Lightning Lane, and then we actually did get the second drop at 1 p.m. for Tiana's. We did do kind of a split day, which we typically haven't been doing because it's just exhausting, and plus it's too hot. It's just physically exhausting. It's too hot. It's so much more enjoyable going late in the afternoon when it's cooler. It becomes nighttime. When you go first in the morning, you go to the afternoon, it's exhausting. I was really exhausted that Wednesday. So especially going in the summer, going late in the day, this doesn't work. I was able to modify. We were able to do a lot and modify and be able to do Big Thunder and Space Mountain. And we did Tron and then Tiana's. And then we also did Monsters Inc., but we didn't use a Lightning Lane for that. But then I was able to get 3 more Lightning Lanes for the afternoon and for the evening when we were coming back. I will tell you, could not get anything after 3 o'clock. After 3 o'clock, everything was gone. You couldn't modify. I was modifying. It was like Mad Tea Party, Dumbo. You couldn't even get Barnstormer. You couldn't even get like Buzz. You couldn't get like Under the Sea. It was like Aladdin's Magic Carpet, Monsters Inc. Like those were, and then Mad Tea Party. Like those were the 2, Mad Tea Party and Monsters Inc., which was what the things that they were only things that were available later in the evening. But I never picked up another one in the afternoon. I had done them in the day. So they're not good for late arrivals. The trip that I had with my son in June, where I kind of surprised him and we went from school, could not have done that. Like I would have done it with like the 3, but you're not going to get anything else. So if you are doing like a going in late in the day or arrival park day, like you're arriving and you're going to the park, you're going to get those 3 attractions, and then you're going to get like Mickey's PhilharMagic, which actually did sell out, and Monsters like Floor Life. Like that's what you're going to get, which you don't even need a Lightning Lane for anyway. So it's not good for late arrivals. This system really works for those who are going first thing in the morning. Okay, the third con is something I just already mentioned, is that there's little to no availability in the afternoon and evening. I did a screenshot of what was available at Disney's Hollywood Studios around 4:45. I think it was like 4:49 or something. This was what available. There was not much available. Millennium's Falcon Run was something that you could get, but I mean, it was hard to get alien swirling saucers. Like that, it was just, and this was at 5 o'clock. The park closed at 10. So, we were able to use our first 3. I think I was able to grab another one. I can't remember, but you're going to get little to availability in the afternoon, in the evening. So again, with Genie Plus, I could get something. I could refresh. I kind of said, I'm the refresh queen. there were times where I just gave up. There was times that I was checking because we got stuck in the rain and we ended up in one of the gift shops, and I was just refreshing. I was there for 25 minutes. And then the one time I got alien swirling saucers, it froze on me. So, which is another con, but I'll get to that one in a second. But yeah, like there is little to no availability pretty much in the afternoon, and forget the evening. Forget picking up anything besides, Monsters Floor Laughing. Now, the number 4 con was something we knew before, and when this system was first announced, because they gave the list of attractions, I thought they would be added day of, but they're not. And that is that there are 0 character meets. 0. I don't understand this, and I think that's also affecting availability, because you're now automatically taking the amount of lightning lanes gone. Like, think about Magic Kingdom. You had the Princess Fairy Tale Hall. There was 2 sides to it. Then you also had Mickey. So those 3 right there, those were 3 capacity. Now, I don't know how much the capacity was, but I'm wondering, do they not want to staff those lightning lanes with cast members? I don't understand why. We used the Genie Plus for the new Mickey and Friends at Epcot on Monday. It was fantastic. It was great. It was like a 10-minute wait with the lightning lane. I don't think we would have done it without the Genie Plus. So yeah, I think, and also this really affects people with young kids, because my niece went in March with her with her daughter, and one of the reasons that they bought Genie Plus was that they could get all the as many character meets as they want. She's only 3, and there's a lot she couldn't ride, so they used any character meet that had a Genie Plus. They grabbed it. So, and I remember using Ryder when it was free when he was the age that we do this, but we used a lot of fast passes for the meet and greets, because he didn't understand waiting 45 minutes to meet Mickey. He didn't understand that at that age. So I know a lot of parents that were purchasing Genie Plus, and not for the character meets, but a lot of the ones that they grabbed were character meets. So why they're not offering it is beyond me. And then also it just reduces the amount availability of lightning lanes. Like somebody that could be, grabbing Under the Sea or something, Pirates, they might be, instead grabbing Meet Mickey in Town Square. So I don't understand it, but if you are a parent of a young child and you use those character meets and this is really going to affect it. And honestly, I don't understand it, and I think it's a big con. Okay, the 5th con was something that was extremely annoying, and something I haven't heard people talk about. I did notice it the first day because we were in Magic Kingdom, but on Thursday and Friday we were at Animal Kingdom, Friday we were at Hollywood Studios. When you're trying to modify, so let's say you have an attraction, let's say you picked up alien swirling saucers and you're trying to get Rock and Roller Coaster, which was actually what I was trying to do. I was like trying to refresh and get Rock and Roller Coaster because my son really wanted to ride it. And I picked up one and I was just trying to modify. When you're trying to modify and you're not in Magic Kingdom, it resets to Magic Kingdom every single time. So when you refresh, then it goes to Magic Kingdom, then you have to click the little icon for Hollywood Studios to give the times for Hollywood Studios. You don't see the time, you don't see a time for the attraction you want, then you have to reset, and you refresh, it goes back to Magic Kingdom. Then you got to click the icon again, and on and on and on. Extremely annoying. So now one of the things also I would say is that it doesn't prioritize the attractions, but I did hear from someone else that if you go into the Genie and you prioritize like what attractions you want to do that day, and I would say like if you want to do Tiana's Big Thunder and Space Mountain, but you got a lightning lane for Tiana's, don't click Tiana's. Like click the ones that you still need to get lightning lanes for. Go into the free Genie and do that. I haven't used that service. So, but I did hear that if you use that and you prioritize those attractions when you refresh, those will be at the top. I didn't get to use that because I didn't hear about that until after we got back, but that is something worth trying. And if that's the case, that's a good thing, because that was also really annoying because I would refresh and Rock and Roller Coaster was always at the bottom. So you have to scroll back and, you know, by the time you got there, even if there was a time and you clicked, it was gone. So, but again, why it modifies, like I purchased it for Hollywood Studios. I'm still physically in Hollywood Studios. It knows where you are. I'm not trying to park hop. Why is it refreshing to Magic Kingdom? I understand that other people want to park hop and that's fine, but why is it resetting to Magic Kingdom every single time? Extremely annoying. That needs to be fixed. So number 6, I kind of mentioned it just a second ago. The attractions, when you refresh, or even when you're trying to pick it, the attractions aren't always in the same order. So sometimes like Haunted Mansion may end up first, and then the next time Under the Sea may be first. Like the attractions were always never in the same order. So, you know, if you are the person like me that refreshes and is trying to get better times or trying to get a certain attraction, you know, it's good to know like Rock and Roller Coaster's at the end, Haunted Mansion is, you know, 3 ones down or whatever. That's how it was with Genie Plus. You knew where it was. But with this system, like a lot of the times they were alphabetical, but not always. Sometimes they were in a different order. Sometimes, you know, so you click thing and you thought like, okay, that's where, you know, Space Mountain was last time, but no, you click on it and no, you just picked up Monsters Inc. So it was very annoying. Like they weren't like, either have them in alphabetical order. Obviously I said, use a Genie feature to prioritize which attractions you're looking for. I did hear that works. But again, like why are they in random order every single time? It was very frustrating, annoying. And again, when you're trying to refresh, you have to be the fastest person. It's the fastest person to that time because you don't secure it until you click on it. So you know, a lot of times it made me lose that time. Okay, number 7 con, it constantly froze. Constantly froze. Here's one time where I found a time, and this isn't like you clicked a time and that time isn't available. That's actually a screen that says we could not secure that time. This particular, you know, this particular screenshot that I'm showing you right now is where it's frozen, where I've selected my names, like, okay, continue, and I kept hitting continue, and it just wouldn't refresh. Wouldn't refresh. And it was an attraction. I can't remember which attraction it was. I think it was Alien Swirling Saucers, but I'm not sure. But it's just trying, and it was one that I was trying to get and wouldn't pop up. So I didn't want to lose, but yeah, it just would not refresh. And this happened all 3 days. Several times, all 3 days. Again, this is something I haven't heard other people talk about, but this happened to me a lot. I tried on Wi-Fi. I tried on, you know, not using their Wi-Fi and using cell data. It happened all 3 days. So happened all 3 days, extremely annoying. But yeah, the system constantly froze. And the only way, when this happens, the only way was to back out. Like don't think you're actually gonna ever get through, because you're not. Okay, number 8 is something that I didn't like with Genie Plus, and also something that I didn't like with FastPass, and it's something that I just don't understand when you're building this whole new system. Why don't you correct this? You can't use a lightning lane twice, right? You can't for the same attractions. You can't go on Space Mountain more than once, or you can't go on Tiana's more than once. Like you can only use it once. And I understand that, especially since the availability is so limited, limiting attractions to one time only makes sense. However, why do you keep showing me those? Like, why are you showing me those? Like, now, again, I don't know how to build a database or an app or anything like that, but I would think that there would be some way where it would stop showing you the ones that you can't, because especially like when we were in Magic Kingdom, there were several attractions that we had already done that it kept showing me for. And it's just like, just remove those. So again, like that's something that they've always had, and I just don't understand why they haven't fixed it. Maybe it's a technical thing and they can't, but you know, you get to that screen and it says you can't book this attraction. So I just don't understand why it just can't get removed from your list. Okay, and number 9 is the biggest con. If you thought you were gonna spend less time on your phone because you get to pre-book, think again. I was on my phone more on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to modify and grab new attractions than I was on the first 2 days of our trip. I mean, I would say 2 to 3 times more trying it because one, there's no availability. So when you can't secure it, you're not getting anything, you're just still refreshing. And I also forgot to mention, when we were in Animal Kingdom, I couldn't modify, like we got dinosaur, I had picked Dinosaur, Everest, and Navi River Journey. My son decided that he didn't want to go on Navi River Journey. He actually said he didn't want to go to Pandora at all while we were on the Africa Trek. So while we were on the Africa Trek, I was trying to refresh. There was nothing. There was nothing before noon. Like I could get Dinosaur, I could get Everest, but I could get It's Tough to Be a Bug, which you don't need a lightning lane for. Cali River Rapids was out. Like there was nothing else. Like you couldn't get anything. So on Thursday, we actually only got to use 2 because we could never get one for Cali River, and I ended up canceling Navi River, and I couldn't get a replacement for it. So we only used 2. Now it was $18 for the day, but it was a complete waste of money. But when I tell you that I couldn't get anything after 12 o'clock, there was nothing else. Okay, so this is the tips portion of the video. So I might repeat myself because some of the things I mentioned, but this will be the tips portion. Again, this has ended up being a very long video, so I'm gonna try and hurry up. So first is, when you're going to book, have a plan for your day. And the reason why I say that is because the later in the day it gets, the harder it is to even modify a time. So if you think, for example, Dinosaur, we had 3:20 and we got out of the Wild Africa Trek. My son didn't want to do Pandora, so I was trying to get an earlier time. The earliest I could get was like 2:40, I think, or 2:50. Like I couldn't get that much earlier than a time. I think it was 2:50, and that was it. And it was like 12:30. I could not get anything earlier, and kept refreshing. And that was for Dinosaur. Like nobody. People are like, well, you don't even need to get the Genie Bless or Lightning Lane or whatever at Animal Kingdom. And I kind of would agree now, but I couldn't get an earlier time because there was nothing. So make sure you have a plan for your day. Plan it out, know the time. And because when you pick your time, it is so much more difficult to modify. It is so much more difficult to get a different time. So, they only let you go in 5 minutes early. Sometimes there's a grace period. It's usually like 15 minutes. I've heard sometimes it's even an hour, but they don't have to give you that grace period. So I would suggest really kind of mapping out your day, go to touring plans, do a touring plan, have an idea before you book so that you have an understanding as far as what your day is, how long is it gonna take to get from Spaceship Earth to Remy's exactly, so that you have an understanding. Because again, especially for those tier 1 attractions or those hard to get to attractions, you may not be able to get a better time in the park if you need to change your time. Okay, number 2 is one that I've already mentioned already, but if you skip to this portion, you haven't heard it, and that is to use the free Genie service. And the reason why is use it to prioritize those attractions that you don't have lightning lanes for. So example, if you picked Tiana's, Haunted Mansion, and Pirates, then go in and prioritize Big Thunder, Space Mountain, and whatever ones you want to do as well, because that way when you go to modify and you go to refresh, those should pop up and populate to the top of the list. I didn't use this. I heard this after we got back, but I hope that's the case and that makes sense. So, but use it, and then if you go on that attraction or you get a lightning lane for that attraction, go back into the Genie service and unselect it so that you don't have to see it again. But that's the reason why to use the Genie. I never really used it. I thought it was kind of pointless, but it does help when you're trying to modify. Okay, so number 3, again, is something I've already said, but that is to use this service the way to maximize it, you have to go early in the day. And honestly, we've done the whole rope drop, we've done the early morning. This is actually probably going to prevent us from going to the parks more often. And we've already decided to not you renew our annual passes. But really, you have to go early in the day, because people are modifying and grabbing, and you can hold 3 at a time, which is a good thing. But because you can hold 3, there's just less availability. And honestly, I think there's just less availability altogether. I think it just seems, again, there's no character meet, so that's going to take away inventory. But it just seems like there was less availability, and there was nothing in the evening. Nothing. I mean, just absolutely nothing. And we didn't close Animal Kingdom. We closed Magic Kingdom. I didn't get anything after 3 o'clock, and it closed at 10. And same thing for Hollywood Studios. We stayed to the park for a while, and we just couldn't get anything else. Like, you just could not get anything else. So you really have to go early in the day. And early in the day, when we went to Magic Kingdom, that was not our typical park day, but we did Tron, and then we took the train, and then we did Tiana's. And then I was able to modify and get Big Thunder, and I was able to then modify the other one and get Space Mountain. And we even did Monsters Floor Laughing in between while we were waiting for the time for Space Mountain. And we took the train, back. But we were able to get a lot done in that, few hours. But then I had the 3 selections for the evening. But then I couldn't get anything in the afternoon, like nothing. I couldn't modify the times. I couldn't get anything, nothing. So I would say like after 12, depending on the park, Magic Kingdom has more attractions, but honestly, any of the attractions that actually need a lightning lane, you're probably not going to get, them after 2 o'clock probably. And that's if you're lucky, and that's if you're working and you're on your phone a lot. So to make this work, you really got to go early in the day. Okay, and my 4th tip is, again, something I mentioned before, and that is try modifying after your first attraction. So you can modify after you use your first attraction to then get any tier. So we used Tiana's, was our first attraction. I was able to then go change the 2 tiers, the 2 tier 2 attractions that I had, and get both Big Thunder and Space Mountain. So you can do that as long as you've used your first attraction. This also changes rope drop. So if you are someone who does rope drop and tries to get on that first attraction like before, then yes, you can still do that for like 1 attraction, but you really want to make that your first multi-pass attraction one of the first. Like before with the old fast pass, we would do rope drop, we would get there early, we were there, and then we would do like 2, 3, 4 attractions sometimes before we even used our first fast pass, because we would save that first fast pass for when the park got busy. This actually, that's kind of a disadvantage, because you can't do any modifications until you have used your first lightning lane. So you definitely want to use your first multi-pass lightning lane as soon as you can, and then maybe put the other ones later on. Like you can modify and get Space Mountain and Big Thunder later in the afternoon or whatever, whenever you want to do them, but you want to use them. But it's almost, you want to try and do them as quickly as possible. So that's just, honestly, just rope drop. Honestly, if you're gonna get there early and rope drop, just rope drop. That's kind of, and then save the money and don't spend the money on lightning lane, or just plan on using those 3 attractions. Like it's just a lot more work, and with a lot less return on investment, to be honest. Okay, so that is it for my pros and cons, my initial thoughts on the new multi-pass system, and again, touching base on a little bit on the single pass, and then some tips if you want to use it and how I think it's best utilized. Again, for us, will we purchase it when we go to the parks? Probably, because it's something that we've budgeted for. We only have 1 child, so that definitely helps. But with that said, we've already decided that we're not going in the summer anymore. Like if this is the system and that this is the way it works, we're just not going to go in the summer anymore. And, if that means that next year we go to Alani, or we, rent our points out, or we go to Disneyland, or we do something else, then that's what we'll do. Because we've done the last 3 years, we've done Disney World in the summer, and mainly because my son with his school. We're just at that point of our life where we have to go in the summer, and one of our vacations is during the summer. And it was fine. Like, we learned to deal with the heat by going later in the day. This system doesn't work that way. We use Genie Plus to our advantage, and honestly, it made the park, while we still had, fortunately, the last 2 days, you know, the last day was a kind of a extra day at Hollywood Studios for my son. Animal Kingdom is not his favorite park. Plus, we did Wild Africa Trek, so we weren't spending that much time. So it really wasn't that big of a deal, but it just made the day less enjoyable. It made it more stressful, and just not, we had like 2 great days, Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And not to say that we didn't have a great time those other 3 days, but it was much less enjoyable, and I was on my phone so much more. I never had to charge my phone the other 2 days. Those 3 days I had to use my external battery to use my phone because I was on it so much and it was burning the battery. I didn't have to use it at Epcot. At Epcot, we closed the park at 11 o'clock. So, will we purchase it? Yes, but we'll have to go in cooler months. And then that means that we have to go when there's like school. And like for this next coming year, there is no, like last year we went in November, but there was this odd week where it was like, there was no school on Tuesday and there was no school on Friday. It was like Election Day and Veterans Day. So he went to school on Monday and then we left. So he only had to miss 2 days of school. I'm not going to take out my son for a week of school to go to Disney World. Some people do it. That's fine. I'm not going to do that. We'll just go somewhere else. And this new system, again, it's not because of the money. It's not because of anything else. It's just, again, I put this on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. I feel like whoever designs these things never went into the park, has never been a guest in the park. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of vlogs and there's going to be a lot of channels that will tell you how to utilize it and how to do it and how the tips and tricks and stuff. But if you're on vacation, why should you have to watch all these videos for tips and tricks and stuff and it just be stressful? It's just why? I'm going to go somewhere else, you know? Universal Studios, we're going in Labor Day weekend. And what we do is we just get a resort at the Portofino Bay. We're going to stay at Portofino Bay and get the express pass. Done. Don't have to worry about it, and we're done. So yeah, this is, I'm not going to say it's my breaking point, but it might be. I'm not going to say I'm done with Disney and I'm not doing that. It's just, this is just poorly designed. You're getting less for your money. I don't care. I knew paid Fast Pass, whatever was coming. I don't care that it's paid, but give me something good. Give me something and they took a lot less. They've taken a lot away from Genie Plus. There are some pros again, but you're getting a lot less for your money and it's a lot stressful. So that's where I'm going to leave it. And a little bit of a rant here. So maybe they'll make some tweaks. Maybe I'll change my mind. You know, we are probably going to go to the Halloween party and, you know, I don't know. I really won't use this at the Halloween party, so there you go. So I will be posting vlogs coming up. I still have those 2 days in June that I need to edit. So those will be coming probably this week. And then I will be editing this, our most recent vacation. And I think you'll definitely see the contrast of what we were able to get done with the old Genie Plus system. Even those 2 days that I just went with my son where we had 4 hours in Epcot. We had got so much done. And then also in Hollywood Studios, that was a weird day because the park closed early and the park was really empty. But, and then even with our trip, the 2 days that we spent with the last days of Genie Plus versus the days that we did with the new multi-pass, it was a night and day comparison. So those will be coming probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But then hopefully you get to see the contrast. So anyway, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.